Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast for a thriving business and life. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And you can also hear the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, and Apple. I'm your host, Nancy Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive business expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life, your business, and your life. This show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It's for educational purposes only. And today we continue on in the series of creating your next chapter. And today we're creating your vision for your next chapter, episode 6. Can't believe we're up to episode 6 already. So we're going to talk today about creating that compelling vision that aligns with your purpose, your values, and how to gain clarity about what you truly want instead of settling for what feels familiar or expected, and how to create practical strategies to turn your vision into an intentional, inspired action as you step confidently into your next chapter. And so over the last few shows, you've learned about the signs that when you've outgrown your current chapter and how your soul is calling you forward, the fear of leaving the unknown, the fear of leaving the familiar so that you can trust the unknown, and how to reinvent yourself at any age. So today we're talking about your vision. So what I'd like to ask you is, if there was no fear, and if you believed in yourself completely, and you knew that you couldn't fail, what kind of life would you create? What would your next chapter look like? And know that your life will move in the direction of your vision. A vision, and that's why we're talking. It's so important to work on holding that vision. And if you don't intentionally hold and create the vision, you'll very often may be living by someone else's standards, someone else's expectations, or you're repeating old patterns. And so your next chapter begins with seeing what's possible before it becomes your reality. And we're going to be doing and talking about all of that. But before we jump into more of that, I want to address, Anastasia asked a couple of questions at the end of last week's show. And so I want to address those questions. So one of the questions she asked is, what is a quantum leap? And is it like the show? And I'm thinking that you were asking, is it like the show Quantum Leap, where you jump from timelines? And no, that's not what I'm talking about. When you take a quantum leap in your life, you begin to see, feel, sense, know yourself very differently than the you that you used to be. And while I talk about now, I don't know, many people or most people may not be willing, ready, or able to take a quantum leap. And that's why I very often talk about taking the baby steps. Because if you are living in fear or self doubt, you may need to take the baby steps before you can have a quantum leap or even a regular size step. And so, this is a quantum leap is really, it's about being able to see, feel, sense, and know yourself at a whole new level. And now I want you to know it is possible. I'm not saying that it isn't, but many of you may need to start from baby steps or regular steps. And I want you all to know that wherever you are, whether you're at a baby step level, a regular step level, or a quantum leap level, know it's really okay for you to be exactly where you are. That's the most important thing of all. And then Anastasia asked, how do we know what we know? And so now, Anastasia, if this isn't answering your question, then please feel free to make it even clearer what the question is. You know what you know. Here's the thing. You can only be aware of what you already know. And the most important thing is being open and self-aware to the possibilities of the things you don't know yet, so that through awareness and through being open and willing for that self-discovery and the awareness, your knowingness increases, your ability to be able to feel or sense or see possibilities increases. And so I want you to know, and all of you to know, is that you're only aware of what you know in the moment. But as you continue to grow and heal and change and move into greater levels of wisdom and greater levels of your own empowerment, your ability to know can expand. So I'm hoping that I answered that question for you. And if you have more, okay. Okay, we have some questions coming in. Mickey asks, is it hard to reinvent? So, Mickey, it's going to take work. I'm not going to BS you. Yes, you're going to need to put the work in to reinvent yourself. Now, how you define it will make it harder or easier. So if you feel like, oh, this is going to be so hard, this is going to be heavy, I can't do this, that's all those limiting beliefs. But if you say, I want to reinvent myself, I feel really excited about this next chapter and the possibilities that are moving through or the opening up for me, the opportunities. Can you feel the difference in between those two? And so that's why it's going to be really important for you to look at and evaluate, how are you holding your vision, or how are you holding this reinvention of self? And I invite you to look at it as an opportunity and exciting discovery of more about you and how you can move forward with more purpose and more conviction and really allow yourself to move in these new directions. So it's all up to you, Mickey, and all of you. How are you going to hold your reinvention? And again, let me repeat, it doesn't mean you're going to take that quantum leap. Many of you are going to need to do the baby steps. Some of you are going to be able to do the bigger steps. And some, maybe a smaller amount of you, may be able to quantum leap it and feel that new reality. But I will tell you, as human nature, and being a therapist and a social worker and in the human psychology field for over 35 years, most of the people are not quantum leapers. It's okay. Just want you to know. Anastasia says, yes, the show is good. Yes. And then she says, there is a lot of studying in the quantum stuff. Yes. You know, the quantum field is fascinating. Okay. And I invite you, because we're going to do a little envisioning today. And I invite you because you may be in the baby step phase. You may be in the being able to really allow yourself to move into a new phase more quickly. And when you're in that quantum phase, it moves even more quickly. And that would be a quantum leap. So let's go over. So let's talk about why your vision matters. Your vision and the life you really want to create, not the life that you're settling for, not the life that your unconscious or subconscious mind has created for you, where you have the repeating patterns and then you say to yourself, how did I end up like this? Why is this happening? This is being able to create that life from your vision, and it starts with your mind. And if you can envision it in your mind, and this is where the quantum work comes in that Anastasia was talking about, the more you can envision it and feel it as real, that this is really happening, that this is already happening. And if you're at that certain vibration, it puts you into the quantum field. And when you're in the quantum field and you work on that vision, and you're going to want to work on it daily, it can manifest more and more quickly. And that's how the quantum leap can happen. And so I invite you all to perhaps open to your quantum leaps. And so, like, if you think about, before a home is built, there's a blueprint. Before a business is launched, there's a business idea. And before your transformation happens, there's your vision. And what I really want to invite you to realize is your vision will give you direction. It will give you hope. It will give you purpose and motivation and resilience. And what I was talking about before is, instead of your reinvention being hard, when you focus on the vision of what you're creating, it can be easier. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean work, and it doesn't mean effort, and it doesn't mean that you're going to have to take actions. But how you hold it will make all the difference. And so without your vision and without a vision, you may drift. You may start reacting to your life, or you probably have been reacting to your life. Maybe you're repeating old habits or old patterns, and you settle for what's familiar. With your vision, it opens things up. And so I have a question for you. What kind of future are you currently creating through your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations? So, what kind of future are you currently creating through your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations? And okay, so Anastasia, okay, we have a few here. Even if you've made it to the quantum stage, sometimes you may need to go back to baby steps. And you know what, Nikki? That is true. That is true. So you may have quantum leap, but then to continue moving forward, you may need to do baby steps. And so here's the thing. And sometimes it's following that guidance, that inner wisdom within you, following and allowing yourself to be guided by your inner wisdom, by your intuition, to what action needs to be taken. And sometimes it's going to be a baby step action, and sometimes it might be bigger steps. So even when you jump to the next phase, you're right, Nikki, you're right. You may need to take those baby steps, and it's all okay. And I want you to know it's all okay. And Anastasia says, is this like manifesting? Yes, it is actually you manifesting a whole new life. It's re-envisioning the life you want to create, the life that's possible for you, the life that you are being guided to on that soul, your heart and soul level. And that is powerful manifesting. That's what an inspired and empowered living life is all about. And business, and being able to create a life, to create a business from your vision. And so you are really in manifesting that, to manifest what you really want. So let's talk about the difference between goals and vision. So the way that I define goals, they're related, but they're not the same. So when you have a goal, you focus on achievement. You focus on what can I achieve to get to this place. So you may want to have goals within the vision. And your question for yourself is, what do I want to accomplish? So a goal focus on those accomplishments, the achievements. Your vision is much bigger and broader than that. And your vision focuses on not only what you really want and what you're manifesting and creating in your life, it's on who are you becoming. Because in order to achieve that vision, perhaps in the quantum field, you need to become that person in order to create or manifest the vision. And so I invite you to think about, how do you want to feel? And also to ask yourself, what kind of impact do I want to make? That's your vision is more about, it's the bigger purpose, the bigger place. Vision is bigger and broader than just a goal. And I don't mean just goals, because goals are important. Goals need to happen step by step in order to manifest the vision. It may be you may need to create a goal in order to take the steps to move towards the vision. But the vision is bigger, it's broader, it's who you are becoming. How do you want to feel? What kind of life are you creating? What kind of a business are you creating? And what kind of a legacy or impact do you want to make? And what happens is your goals may change or will change. And your goals also very often can come from your mind. It's important not to get caught up in the have tos, because if you are creating a goal from a have to, then it's your ego. It's the part of you that actually limits you. You want to create, your vision is coming from your heart, your soul, your intuition, and you want to create the goals from that place. And they're smaller tasks. They're smaller pieces in order to get you towards the vision. And so I invite you to ask yourself, instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Ask yourself, and this is a really important question, who am I becoming? And if I allow myself to envision that life, that business that I want to create to make a bigger difference in this world, to leave a legacy, to empower myself and others, who am I becoming in order to accomplish that? And also know your soul is guiding the way. So I'm going to invite you all. Now, for those of you who are driving, please do not do this. You are not going to be closing your eyes. And I want you focusing on the road. If you're operating machinery, please focus on what you're doing. Come back to the YouTube or come back to the podcast at a later time so that you can do this imagining exercise with us. Okay? So those of you who are able, in a safe place where you can allow yourself to imagine. All right? Everybody take a deep breath in and breathe in the light. Okay, before I go into this, Anastasia said, will the goals be those baby steps? Yes, the goals can be, well, you can set a smaller goal, and within the goal, you may have baby steps. So, like, for example, let's say your vision, okay, I'll give you this. So imagine here I've had inspired and empowered living TV show and podcast. And now it's for a thriving business and life. And I have this vision of where I want it to go. And so I need to create the goals to get it there. So like goals like putting it on social media, letting more people know, making sure the podcasts go out. Those are all pieces of the goal to get me to the vision. So hopefully that helps you to understand it. So now let's go back to the imagining for you, but I wanted to give you an example of the goals versus the vision. The vision is where I am feeling or where I envision this show going in the future, what my intention is for this show. So take a deep breath in and breathe in that light. Just imagine white light. You can imagine sunlight streaming down on you, whatever feels good to you. And take that deep breath in. And on the out breath, letting go and releasing any stress, any tension, any worries from the day. And take another deep breath in, breathing in the light. And on the out breath, letting go and releasing any stress, any tension, any worries and concerns. And one more time, take another deep breath in, breathing in the light. And on the out breath, letting go and releasing any stress, tension, worries, or concerns. And I want you to imagine yourself a year from today. And I want you to imagine not only that it's a year from today, but it's over this past year, you've moved towards this vision that your heart and your soul want you to create. That you are being guided by your heart, by your soul, to create something for yourself, for your business, for your life. And so I invite you to picture or feel or sense or know. Where are you? Where do you imagine? Remember, you can use your imagination here. I want you to use your imagination. Where are you? How do you feel when you wake up? What do you imagine the work you're doing? What can you imagine is the work that you're doing? And who are you serving? Who are you serving? And imagine now, how would you spend your time? How would you spend your time? What are you doing as you spend your time? What kind of relationships do you have around you? And I really want to invite you not to edit the vision, not to judge it, just allow it to come. Have fun with this. What kind of energy do you have? And if you could imagine, what would people be saying about you? What would people be saying about you? And what impact are you making? What kind of impact are you making? And so take a breath. Take a breath and allow yourself to really breathe into that. And you may want to journal it. For those of you who are live in the chat, you may want to share something that came up for you. I'd love to hear. And know that your soul reveals possibility before your mind believes it. And so I want you to know, in you imagining this, that you're giving yourself the possibility of now allowing yourself to create it. And now everybody take a breath and feel yourself now coming back to present time, right here, right now, feeling your breath, feeling your feet on the floor, breathing yourself back into present time, right here, right now. And some of you may want to, if you're listening to this at a later time, stop the recording, Maybe you want to journal. Go for it. And I would love to hear what happens for you. So if you can always tag me on Facebook or social media, I'd love to hear. So, or DM me. So what would get in the way of your vision? So you just had this vision of what's possible. Now, some of you may not have been able to get there. I did it pretty quickly, move things along. But I invite you to ponder the questions. Ponder the questions. And allow yourself to ask yourself, what step or steps do you need to become, to move towards that vision? So what would get in the way of that? So you may struggle, and many people would struggle to create a vision. Maybe you had trouble doing that. And I also want you to know it's okay. I did this very quickly. And if you have a very active mind, you may need a lot more time to calm your mind down to be able to get into the vision. That's why I invite you to write the questions down, so that then at a later time, you can come back to them and imagine them and do breathing and relaxing so that you can move into them. But a lot of times, if you're focusing on what you don't want, you won't create what you do. If you believe that you're not worthy or deserving of that vision, of that dream, you won't create it. If you believe, or if you're afraid to dream, I know people that are even afraid to dream that vision or dream the dream because they don't want to be disappointed or they're scared. Or maybe you don't trust yourself. Or maybe you're attached to the past. Or maybe you're overwhelmed at the thought of how would you ever get there? And what I want to remind you is you're not going to know every step. With your vision, it's not about knowing every step to get there. It's just about what's possible. What's possible. It's about you opening to the possibility, being available for that possibility so that you can move towards that vision. And so I would like to ask you, and I want you to reflect on this, what old belief is limiting your ability to imagine a bigger, better future? What old belief is limiting your ability for you to imagine a bigger, better future? Now, if you were able to do that, so be it. Fantastic, great. But if you were having challenge with it, then you may be limiting yourself. So I want to get back. Let's see. Anastasia asked, is there a place to start the journal? Anastasia, you start, I'm not exactly sure the question. Should you have different journals for different types of things? Got it. So it's your choice. Okay. You may want a journal for I call it the morning pages to release all that old stuff or the limiting beliefs. You may want a special journal for your vision and your dreams and affirmations and your manifestations. Or you may want to mix it up and see what's limiting you and what you need to do to keep moving forward. It's your choice. And so I invite you to feel into it to see what feels good to you. Do you feel like you want to have separate journals, or do you want it all together? And it's going to be what's going to be in your best interest. What's going to help you most? What's going to help you most? That's the question. So if it's separating them out, then do that. If it's just having one journal, then do that. So I invite you to ask yourself what's going to help you most. Mickey says dreams can be so enlightening. Yes, they can, Mickey. It sounds like you got some good ideas from that. So that's great. Some good imagining. And yes, your dreams are there to enlighten you. I want you all to know that those daydreams of wanting a different life, or wanting something different, or wanting a different possibility, those are like stepping stones. Those are towards you, moving towards your potential of what's possible for you. So definitely you want to keep dreaming and imagining. So important. And so the role of your intuition in creating your vision. So you are going to need to really tune into your intuition, your inner wisdom, your guidance, to ask you what feels true, or what is my next step. And if you think that you can try to change by using logic alone, it doesn't work like that. Because when you're really in the manifesting place, logic is coming from your mind. And we all need the logic piece. I'm not saying that you don't need the logic piece. But when you are in that manifestation, when you're in the creation of this vision of your life, of what's possible, of what's next for you, you want to bring in not only the logical part of you, that's saying what makes sense. You want to bring in the imagination, like what we just did, like what Mickey said, dreams can be enlightening. I want you to feel possibility, allow yourself to move into what is possible for you. That's what I want for all of you. And it's through your intuition that you get guided by inspired action. What step needs to take? What's the next step? And you can keep asking, what's my next step? What do I need to do in order to move towards that vision? And so I invite you to reflect. Where has your intuition already been guiding you or pointing you in a certain direction? And what dream keeps returning? I invite you to reflect upon that. So let's talk about bringing your vision into the present. And the way that you need to do that is, if you think that you're going to be confident once you reach the vision, that's not true. You need to keep asking yourself, how do I become that person now? What do I need to do or feel or sense or be to be that person now? And that future vision of who you are, you're going to ask yourself, how would that version of you think? How would she or he speak? How would you make decisions? How would you care for yourself? That essential self-care that I'm always talking about. How would you lead? What kind of leader would you be? How would you lead? And how would you show up in the world? And your future isn't built on a someday. It's built on the choices that you make today. Every moment, every decision that you're making, are you going back to the past or are you moving forward? Are you moving towards that vision? And I invite you to start reflecting on all of that. And I also want to invite you to create, whether you were able to create it with us doing it together today, or for those of you who need to come back to it, I encourage you to create your vision and actually write it down. And really make sure you really want to create a vision where you've written it down, because actually I don't, and you could put it into the computer, but I will say there is something about actual handwriting, pen and paper. This is old time, but it definitely, there's something that happens to the brain because you're actually writing it. You're using a part of you that you don't use when you're typing it into the computer. So, and in that vision, I invite you to ask yourself, how do you want to feel? Remember when you're creating the vision, I already feel. I am feeling. I feel excited. I feel expansive. What do you want to experience? I am living the vision. My show is reaching millions. I'm doing it for you for my show. And who do you want to serve? Who do you want to serve? And again, you're going to be doing this that you already either have it, it's already happening, or it's already happened. So it's I am, or I'm creating, or I already have this. Who have you become? Who have you become? What matters most to you? And what is the legacy that you want to leave? And your vision isn't about perfection, it's about your direction. Allow it to grow with you. So I really want to remind you, this is not about figuring it all out today. This is about the baby steps, or the steps. I call it chunking down. Chunk it down so it makes it step by step more doable for you. Step by step. And know that your vision is here to inspire you. It's here to empower you so that you are moving towards the life that you were born, that you living that potential that you actually have within you to create. Okay, Mickey says, you could have one journal with different colors signifying the different things. Mickey, thank you for that. That's beautiful. That's a great idea from Mickey. So you could have one journal, but then you could highlight, how you could have, like, if you, like, I use, like, say a 5-section notebook, and then you can put it into sections. So one section could be on the clearing, the old stuff, and the other section is on your envisioning. So perfect. Thank you, Mickey, for that idea. Okay, so now for next week, we're going to be talking about taking those steps. You've recognized the signs. You've answered your soul's calling, or you're aware of your soul's calling. You're facing your fears. You're learning to trust the unknown. You are creating You embraced visioning yourself, reinventing yourself, and you're creating a vision for your future. And now it's about taking the steps. What steps are you going to take? And that is what we're going to be doing next week on the show. What step or steps are you going to take to move towards that reinvention? So join us next week for more inspired and empowered living. We are live on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, my YouTube channel, and you can hear the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And so I wish you all an inspired and empowered day or night, depending on where you are, and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.